Welcome to Blindside. This episode again is brought to you by C-Track, the power to predict. Guys, we were at DHS last week. This week we went to Westville. A completely different demographic to Durban High School. Very unique things happening at the school. Some very important role players in the school. And I think before we get to that, again, Johnny, we alluded in last week's episode about what the Sharks are trying to achieve with the schools, and obviously from schools, feeding into the, and three very prominent players that they presented. A guy that played under 16 this year still, and then two that is obviously grade 11 that is still be in the team next year. Phenomenal young men. And again, isn't it amazing, Johnny? Again, we saw them before we saw the Sharks, and the passion for that black jersey, or the Sharks jersey, is just absolutely incredible. Not only from schools, the players, but also so much the coaches in those schools wanting these boys to be in those colours.
Look, if there's one thing that stood out for me, it's consistency at Westville. So by any scope of imagination, consistency will always outperform talent by 99.9%. And let me explain myself. Consistency is creating the habit of excellence. We first form our habits, and then our habits will form us. Now, so from a consistency perspective, you could clearly see, again coming back to the culture and tradition of Westville, is that these boys do it right. These rugby players do it right. There's a discipline structure. I can promise you they make their own beats. They serve their fellow players. And it's the consistency that's bringing the unity in that school. Talent's only going to bring you that far. Talent's a wonderful thing. And I always say, talent's something that we received for free, Mala. We just got it. What we do with that talent is all to do with consistency, and that stood out at Westville. Incredible school again, and what they're busy with, and that neuron pathway that they're creating in that school will last a lifetime.
Thuis, Johnny, dis nie elke dag wat mens 'n vrou sien as die direkteur van sport nie. Nie die direkteur van sport in 'n meisieskool nie. Die direkteur van sport in 'n seunskool. Kom ons gesels bietjie oor die vrou in die stoel.
Yeah, you're alluding to Pam Maywood. That's the first woman to be a director of sport at one of those prestigious schools. There's a lot of people who will say that will ask the question, why? I want to reverse engineer this by saying, why not? She's passionate. She's level-headed. And I think at the end of the day, hate me for it, love me for it, I personally believe that sometimes we need more women in these positions. Why? Why will that be? A woman is an interesting phenomenon. When they put their heart and soul ties into something, and we can just look at mothers. They do it with every inch of their soul. Obviously she's making a massive difference in that school. Now I've got to take my hat off. We should move away from that chauvinist men-only perspective. She's making a massive impact at the school. She's making a massive difference. And I respect the fact that a school like Westville didn't look at gender. They looked at capabilities. And they looked at experience, and they picked a human being that's doing a phenomenal job at that school.
I absolutely agree with that, Johnny. She's a phenomenal sportswoman herself. Very competitive. I think she's fourth in the country with paddle. She was a phenomenal tennis player. She's actively involved with golf. I don't think there's a sport that was mentioned that she's not participating in. So, but over and above that, I agree, Johnny. She's, we didn't interview her, but she was present the whole time. Almost like, typically that guardian mom of the school type thing, not in a, always just a gentle, caring way, but also making sure that, everybody takes his responsibility. And, she's a powerhouse. I mean, she had a presence when she walked in there. Really, really impressed with the people that she's actually appointed into those various roles. And they alluded to it in the interviews as well. I mean, what's important is they are omnisport school. There's so many different sports, and they don't think that the one is more important than the other. They know that rugby is important for them, but they very aggressively spoke about different sports, and every sport needs its place under the sun, which I think was quite interesting. So let's go and have a listen to Dusty Noble, the director of rugby, and Zander, who was the head coach of the first team. This segment is brought to you by Nashua. Dusty, Zander, it's really a privilege to visit you guys, and thank you for the opportunity to come and spend a bit of time here at Westville. I always say you don't know until you know. We've had quite a long discussion off camera about the amazing stuff that's happening at the school, but this program is all about informing, educating people about what's happening in schoolboy rugby, especially in off seasons and obviously in season, and then more so getting them excited about what's going to happen for Westville for next season. So thank you for your time. We really appreciate that. Dusty, you guys finished number 1 in Natal. Well, let's just start there.
Yeah.
And then 6th overall in the country. What was the season like for you guys?
Yeah, I think Thijs, thank you for that. The season started in October of last year with a grueling fitness program, conditioning. We got that right. We've got a really good coaching staff involved in the school from an under-16s, preparing the boys for Opens rugby. And then under the leadership of Zander, the first team head coach, Mzamo, the forward coach, and Wayno, the backline coach. It's a really good team, and I think that's the secret to our success. It's hard work and preparation. I think we prepared better than we've ever done in the past, and I think that's why we were successful.
Absolutely. Zander, you obviously head coach but you had the privilege to also work with under 16 in previous seasons that are coming through the ranks now. How important is this off season? I mean, we speak about preparation with all the schools, and I don't think the viewer out there understands the amount of hard work and dedication goes into preparing for an actual season.
Yeah, I think Dusty and I sat this morning and we tried to just put this whole puzzle together, because our approach at the school is very holistic in terms of the development of the kids. So for us, allowing the kids to play summer sport, that's very important. But in saying that, we got to balance having our cricket and our water polo oaks together in the rugby system so that we can still have a continuity. But back to the off-season stuff, very important. The foundation is laid there in terms of the physical aspects, and then also a bit of mental. Got to go to a dark place in the off season, and we build the foundation there so that by the time we get into pre-season and the early start of our campaign, we should be ready to go.
I'm going to throw a blindside question in quickly, but what is the biggest challenge coaching schoolboy rugby?
Yeah, I think the challenge is also the privilege, because I think the boys are so vulnerable. They are there for you to shape their careers. Or for a lot of boys, it's just time away from everything at home, from the academic side of things. For a lot of boys, they only come to school for rugby. So yeah, that is a challenge, to put a smile on their faces, and I think as coaches to remind us that it's about them. I think that is the challenge, but it's also a privilege to have that challenge and the opportunity to work with those boys. But yeah, the challenge is that you work with boys from all different economic situations at home and all different backgrounds as well.
Will you say that parents also play a massive role in coaching these boys?
Yes, but we encourage our parents to get in touch with us. I think we don't want to be distant from them. If there's an open door policy, we can have really good conversations. We have really good parents in our school. We bless them. They do want to ask questions, but it's not about selections. How can their son be better? But we do pull our parents in. Last year we did something, for example, to educate our parents on diet. Healthy food for our kids. So we had a dietitian that came to speak to all our elite sportsmen's parents. So we keep our parents close to us.
How invested are you guys? I mean, let's just say you've got we spoke off camera, a season of about 15 games, if you include. Is this your first year going to Westville coming up, or am I right, in 2026?
Yes, this will be our first. We got an invitation from Cassie about a couple of weeks back, and we are very excited to go. I think it's an opportunity for us to showcase our skills again.
So obviously, I mean, you guys are number 6 in the country, and these ranking systems. Let's be honest. You know, there's so many criteria in that, and every second website and guy playing around on Instagram can form his own statistics. But the most important is for me is actually competing against somebody that actually challenges you and you know, takes you to a higher level. We all know that. I mean, competing against the best makes you better. Yeah. So, how committed or possible it is for you guys to actually then compete against those top 5? Do you rely on Westville to actually create derbies for you guys there to play against your traditional top 5 schools? Or is there openings in your season where you can still actually schedule a game or two and create some of those derbies where you compete against them?
So what we do with our fixtures is that we obviously play JP and KZ as a fixture as well, a winter fixture, and they can always sometimes be in the top 10. JP KZ, we play Marriageburg College every year. They can normally in the top 15 in the country. DHS are always in the top 10. So it's not like we're playing easy fixtures in KZN. Yeah, no. We've got like-minded schools that is ranked very closely to us. So yes, we're not the Cape schools, but for us it's not easy fixtures because we're playing like-minded schools that's ranked very, very closely to us. If you look at the results this year, Northwood close game, DHS we just won, College a close game. So it's going to be tough. There's no easy fixtures for us. Yes, we're not the Western Cape, but we are not a school like the schools in the Western Cape. Yeah. So we're playing like-minded schools in KZN, and it's tough fixtures for us. Yeah,
look, I didn't mean that in a negative. I actually think, you know, with what you guys have done and achieved this season, and if you look at what's coming through the ranks, you've got some phenomenal rugby players here, and I think the more eyes are on them, the better. So that's why, I mean, in a positive sense, I would like to see a Westville compete against a Grey or or an Uffies or one of Paul Boys High. You talk about Cape schools. We at Blindside have seen a big gap between North and South. Just statistically, it's actually quite impressive. And I actually mentioned it on our very first episode that the Natal boys are catching up to the Western Cape way faster than the guys up north. So something good is happening down here. And like I said, I would love to actually see that type of thing happening. Let's talk about some of the boys that was playing first team this year that were actually quite phenomenal. I mean, I want to be the first guy to announce if I was Rassie, I would actually put Siaya in the box side now, because I think he's as close as a Frans Steyn ever, and we all know a Frans Steyn you get every second decade maybe, and this boy's just got everything in my opinion, but not just him. Talk us through the players that actually made it very well this year.
Yeah, so he's obviously one of the boys that's on everyone's lips because of the way social media just has the ability to reach people, and the things he does on a field is just unseen. So he gets a lot of airtime for that, does the Cotello, but I think the turning point for him, he became a very well-rounded player when we played at Kersney, and there was question marks about his kicking, and I think in that one game he kicked like 4 50-22s, and he just announced himself as someone that can create, but someone that can kick and that can defend and that understands the rugby on and off the field as well. He's been very good with his recovery now. But it's also a credit to our system. He's been with us now for 3 years, playing under 16s, coach him at under 17s, with the sevens. He's been in the provincial setup, the EPD camp. So I think that gives him a good grounding to go forward. He signed with the Sharks, so he's going to become a very young, successful professional. And then we've got a couple of oaks that's staying behind. Mlapa that you guys interviewed, he's under 17 but played SA schools. The same team, Jadrian Afrikaner, will be under 19 next year. Also played in that SA school side. So we've got a bunch of boys that either national or provincial representatives. Studs, our tight head prop, stays behind. We've got 2 Lucy's that was in the mix this year. So there's a lot of continuity, and the way we train with a group of 45 players allows you to mix and match those players to come and go within our system without dropping too much. I think that's what we got right this year is having that first, second and third gap become a lot smaller than in the past.
Zander, how do you motivate your C and D team players?
It's always tough, but we want to create an opportunity that they are part of us without having to motivate. So if the guy is driven and he wants to pursue being in that top 3 teams, the door is open for him. We don't close the door, and unless he pulls out, he then takes that chance away. But otherwise, he's now as eligible as anyone else to knock on the door if he's willing to put the work in. So our motivation is the door is open. Come and join us. Come and upskill yourself. Come and go through the hard yards. And then we've had a guy that started at Hilton in the fourth side. He got his first call up for KZN College. 1 game in the 7 jersey, and he never gave the 7 jersey away in the first team.
And he's never played A-team rugby in his
life, yes.
school career.
But he stuck it through in that off-season. And same with our tight head. He came from Ikawi Week, played under 16B for me. The next year played under 3rd team. 2 injuries, played the whole grade 11. Sharks under 17. Craven Week this year, whole season, first team. So that's our system that we're trying to create.
And guys, I can't commend you more for that. I mean, some other schools would set a squad out of 40, 45 players, and they almost privilegedly work with those boys and almost not really discard the rest. But the rest doesn't really matter for that first period until there's injuries or whatever the case might be. Then they might bring them in. You guys have decided the door's open. You come and train, whether you have to deal with 50, 60 players, you don't care. You rather add coaches to it, but everybody gets the same opportunity, and that's really commendable. So well done on that. Look, the school has got an amazing history. There's some great players that has come through here, and surely, we're going to see quite a few more come through here with sport directors like you have that are very competitive, and yourself, Dusty. What do you see for next year? I mean, you've had a great season. Who should we look out for? What can we expect from Westville next year?
Yeah, I think with our season that we had this year, everyone's going to be obviously coming out for us next year. But that is part and parcel of being a first-team rugby player and a first-team rugby management team. But we're going to work hard, Tace. We've started already. I think we're going to be competitive next year again. I think the way we prep, will be competitive. We've got some really good boys coming back again. I think if you look at a guy like Koopman, who was our flav this year, he's going to play his 3rd year of first team rugby as a flav. I think that is key. That we have experience in key positions for us. I think that's going to be key for us. But I think we're gonna be competitive next year. We'll work hard. But as I said to you, it's going to be tough. All the teams are going to be good again in KZN. All the schools are putting in lots of work behind the scenes, but we're going to work hard as well, of course.
And then just lastly, your recruitment. I mean, you spoke off camera quickly about that as well. You're in a privileged position where boys wants to come here. I mean, don't necessarily have to give out bursaries. The school has done enough in terms of performance and culture and the DNA that runs around here, that boys actually want to be at Westville.
Yeah, I think if I touch a little bit before Zander can add on the culture of our school, Saul McGough, for example, he was our inside centre, played Craven Rick. He just come from up the road from Winston Park. Wandile Mlaba is a boy from Kloof. He played SA Schools, just up the road from here. Makania, he didn't play A-team rugby at all, and then first team rugby. He's from Ethel Heights, up the road. And I think that's our model. Yes, we will recruit from out of province if we don't have a boy in that position in the school. But our culture and our belief in our school is that we want our local parents next to the field supporting our boys. And we're not going to bring in a boy that's going to place a boy that's already here. Only if there's a shortage of talent or a boy leaves the school or someone emigrates, we will try to replace them. But I think Zander can add on with the culture we're trying to create in the first team maybe also as well.
Yeah, I think it's important to understand that our school, even though rugby is a massive part of our DNA in South Africa and the pride and the joy of the school, but there's a lot of places within the school system that the kids can find themselves. So, like on your point about putting in fixtures, we can't have any fixtures in term 3 because of our soccer program that's so big. We've got 27 or 28 teams. So for us, allowing boys to come here and to not be under this, you have to be a rugby player bubble. There's a place to shine at the culture, academic, or various other sports. So for us, we understand that, and we want quality kids, we want quality parents, parents that are involved. And for us, the success stories of these local kids playing is far better than just having a person to come in and just fill a gap and go, and we don't have this lasting old boys, people that are proud of the school. So I think in terms of our recruiting, we are looking for that. Yes, we want the rugby players and we want the top guys, but it's not the end of the world if we're not in the top 10 every year with rugby. Our school needs to come first in that aspect, because the ethos of the school is a holistic development place for kids to grow.
Sure. I quickly want to ask, we are in off-season now. How does a normal training week look like? Off-season?
Oh, we're just trying to figure it out ourselves.
We're trying to get that right. So let me explain to you this week where we are now, for example, to give you an indication. So we've got boys doing a in-season sevens program, because we're playing sevens.
Okay.
Then we've got boys doing an off-season program, which are the props, locks, hookers who's not playing sevens. And then we've got boys doing an in-season program who's doing hula polo and cricket. So we've got 4 different gym programs going on at once,
Sure.
one squad, because we've got boys that play multiple sports, and that's important to us as a school. It's challenging, but I think we put our heads together. I think between the directors of the different sports, we find solutions. It's challenging. It's not as easy as, but we make it work. It's a nice problem to have. And so that's just where we are now with our off-season.
Generally, we'll gym 4 times a week, which Friday mornings allows us to have a big group because there's so many other boys around. So Friday mornings are generally tough, but it's our last one for the weekend. We'll have 2 or 3 field sessions depending on where we are. And then a lot of culture stuff. We call it culture, but it's a lot of team building stuff, a lot of like goal setting, a lot of personal team goals, a lot of getting to know each other because of that group of under 16 boys coming in.
Okay.
So there's a lot of off-field stuff we do as well. In January, we'll have a camp that's part of our off-season plans. And so we generally, this next pretty much 8 to 12 weeks will be a massive focus on core skills and gym. We've got a good system in terms of the culture. The guys want to lift weights and they want to be strong because they can see the how that transfers onto the field as well. So we've created that culture of, they know it's going to be tough, but they're willing to go now in this time of year. They're actually asking us, when can we start? What's happening? Yeah.
Look, I want to close off by saying, guys, we can see the amount of work that goes in here. I always say, your leadership determines what happens down towards your sports, and it's various sports, doesn't really matter which one. You can see there's a massive culture here too, and the guys are excited. I mean, when we spoke to the players as well, they're really excited about an off season, although they know it's tough. They know it builds character and it brings them, much call it benefits for what's coming into next season. So congratulations on creating that. We know it's difficult. It's not the easiest thing to do, especially with multiple sports in a school. I know you've got a very competitive sports director, so she will make sure that all of this stays in place. And just from our side, we will definitely be coming back, spending a derby week with you, and we will cover that. And hopefully Villa Clover decides to give you a good run at Villa Clover. I think it'll be beneficial for the country to see what Westville can do against the top 5, and I'll be the first one to support you guys. So good luck, and thank you so much again for this opportunity, Dusty. Zander, it was a real privilege for us.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for giving the opportunity. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for Blindside for being here. It's a great opportunity to host you guys, and we welcome you back in 2026 to come and cover our derby. It would be great to have you guys here next year. Thank you.
Maybe you hate broccoli or love scary movies. Maybe you're indecisive, adventurous, or always kind. Maybe you snore, have a secret creative talent, or no sense of direction. We don't pretend to know you, but we know certain things get you going. And at MediHelp Medical Scheme, we know about healthcare, as we've been doing it for 120 years. Visit medihelp.co.za for all the information about our plans for everybody.
Yes, Thys, die dinamika tussen hierdie twee, selfs al sit mens langs hulle, kan mens sien, hulle is nie net passievol oor wat daar aangaan nie, maar hulle is twee goeie pelle ook, en ek mens kan die dinamika tussen hulle twee sien, en jou en Dusty se paie het al gekry, so vertel ons so 'n bietjie meer van Dusty.
Dusty Noble, again, we talk about alignment. This guy played for the Sharks. He was like, we played against each other. He was such a phenomenal guy, but his passion was always seen on the field as well, and he had that same, even in our discussions when we spoke about how they develop, what they do, you could see that Dusty Noble on the field coming through when he spoke about coaching as well. Zander was his predecessor in that role, so the two of them working together is just absolutely amazing. You spoke about that continuity aspect, Johnny.
Yeah, looking at these two gentlemen, and let's be honest, you can just read the newspapers about coaches not getting along, and then some coaches will stand up against the coach. We saw it at the Bulls, we saw it at the Lions a couple of years ago, and so the dynamic and the teamwork is incredible here. And I want to talk a bit about a player becoming a coach, a guy like Dusty. And again, what needs to stand out there is the passion for the game, because every guy that played the game believes he will by default be the best coach as well. Certainly not two. I mean, you played, you coached, and there's a major difference. It's two different worlds being played on a similar field. And I think Dusty is getting that right. I think from being an ex-player to becoming a coach, he lives not only for the game, he lives for the children. And I think that is making him a successful taste.
Yeah, Johnny, again, the point you made about every rugby player necessarily being a coach. If you're not a coach at heart, you should not be coaching. And that actually, during your playing days, that must be your train of thought. It's very, very difficult to make that transition. It's not every guy that can actually do that. And schools sometimes make the mistake in assuming that. We've seen various schools that use experts to come in and help with certain things, and eventually that guy is sort of like looked at as a coach. There's amazing guys that can, on specific aspects of the game, be very helpful and give tips, etc. But becoming a coach, a head coach, or a coach, part of a coaching structure, it's not in everybody's plans.
And let's talk about that. So let's take a fullback. A fullback for many years plays the game from a fullback perspective. He's got his own DNA and characteristic traits, so he plays according to his personality and he plays according to his position. There's 15 players on the field, 15 different positions and 15 different personalities. Now all of a sudden, as a fullback, I must get rid of my characteristic and my style of playing, and I've got to start looking at the holistic team effort. And that's a total different dynamic. It's not as easy as we think it is. And that's where I think Dusty is getting it right. He left his playing days behind, and he's now focusing on a holistic team.
Absolutely, and Zander, they're both so passionate. Again, they decided to have an open field policy, call it that. Everybody that rocks up interested to be part of the senior setup is welcome. There's not a group selected of 35 or 45 or 60 players. You rock up, you're consistent, you're there every week, you're getting developed.
Ja.
They spoke about guys playing in a very lower, sort of like senior side, eventually playing 1 or 2 games in the first team. Purely because he rocked up. He was there. He understood, what they're trying to achieve and developed in the process.
Ja, en die gap is dan nie te groot nie, want daai ouetjie het saam met hulle geoefen. Hy ken die lyn staan calls. Hy kan net
Correct.
inval.
He just slots in. It's pretty much what Russie's doing, Let's have 60 guys in the squad. Let everybody understand it. And the day that I need you, and you perform well, and you're on the standard, I can select you.
Yeah, you're 100% right. What I like about that, first and foremost, it creates self-belief, because I can promise you that the guy without any talent is not going to waste his time by rocking up in this group. You've got to believe there's something. I mean, let's take Ethan Hooker. The past 2 tests he played, he was absolutely brilliant. He did not get a contract at the Sharks. He went to the Sharks Academy, but he was part of a system. And he came through the system because obviously he had self-respect and he worked harder than anybody else. And I like that system at Westville, that if you think you've got a chance and you're willing to work hard, be part of that senior system. You never know what's going to happen.
And that's the key, willing to work hard. Because it's not a gift there. That they also made very clear. You can come, but there's hard work here. And if you're persistent, you've got a chance. So we also had a wonderful opportunity to speak to 3 of their players. Again, 3 amazing young men. Had great accolades, but let's go and have a listen to them. And this segment is brought to you by MediHealth. Mlawa, Rock, Lux, very nice to have you on the show, Blindside. We are at Westville, and we are so proud to be walking around here, actually learning a heck of a lot of the school, and obviously very privileged to sit with 2 first-team players of this year, SA Schools player of this year, and then the 16A captain of this year. Guys, tell me a little bit about the season. You went unbeaten at the first team, right?
Yeah. The season, personally, I believe it starts in the preseason. It starts in term 4, which was very tough for us due to our coach sciences, Coach Benzi, fitness and physique, and just conditioning ourselves to be at the level. And then come preseason, and then our coaches start introducing tactics and etc. And I think that was based on the success of the year and the team bonding within the team.
So from a physical preparation point of view, you guys are starting now 4th term, right? You're pretty much up and going. Lux, you're still grade 11, going for again another year in the first team setup. How beneficial was it for you to play in a first team already in grade 11?
Well, I really think that it was really good for my growth. The fact that I was exposed to a high level of rugby was really beneficial for me as a player, because I was able to learn from my mistakes. And the best thing about being a junior is that although you have pressure, you also have so much learnings that you can take into your senior year. And so that's really been the biggest take for me.
Absolutely. you're coming from the under 16s up to the senior level.
Yeah.
So this is obviously something you like to hear. You learned quite a bit. How was your season with under 16s this year?
Yeah, so obviously it started a bit well. Went through first game, Hilton came out strong, and then as the season went, we stayed steady, only losing 2 games in our season. I thought it was very good. Also, the losses are very close, 2 and 3 points. But yeah, I think we just missed those opportunities to take the win there.
So guys, you say you start very early in your previous, call it your off season, going into your next season. That preparation and the dedication that it takes from a personal perspective, how important is it to really want this to be your passion?
It's very important because in that preseason, they test not much about testing how good you are as a player, but how good you are as a person, how willing you are to actually play and actually push through the fitness and all the extra things we do there.
Okay, Lux?
The biggest thing about off season is that it's a time where you prepare yourself mentally for what's to come. Because it's very daunting that week in, week out, you do the same thing over and over again. The mind really, like, it takes a beating. And so what the off-season really does to us is that it shapes our mind into becoming really strong, so that even if when it's tough for us to wake up, we still make the choice to wake up every day and show up to practice and make sure we are at our best.
Builds a lot of character in that period of time. Obviously, Rock, you guys are joining the senior squad now. How excited are you and your fellow teammates of the under 16s to join this?
Yeah, very excited. I've even spoken to a couple of my teammates, and the boys are ready to get stuck in and go full throttle on this pre-season and this training.
You've got some great names that came from the school. The jerseys are hanging here. You've got a very prominent young man that made his debut on the weekend. So how proud are you of Ethan Hooker?
Well, I wasn't here when Ethan Hooker was at the school, but seeing someone coming through the ranks, coming through the same system that I'm currently in right now, it gives me a lot of hope that one day I'll also see myself there.
Fantastic. You played SA Schools this year. It was very good SA Schools side. How much did you learn as a grade 11 from those boys and bringing that back to the school?
I say the most vital thing you learn there is just composure and just being calm under pressure situations, because you see the likes of Marcus Miller and AJ Mayers like so calm under pressure and actually speaking to the team while actually communicating as a leader. It just like it helps you also become a better leader and know when to speak and when not to speak.
Absolutely. You guys finished 10th overall in terms of all your teams in the school, in the country. You finished 6th as a first team. What does your prospects looks like for next year? Are we going to see you up in the top 10 again?
The biggest thing about our school is that we have a lot of depth, and I think that's one of the most underrated things that people, like most people, don't speak about. And so I really think that we are going to be up there, if not better.
Okay, your coaches are very well known, and they've come through the mill themselves. How important is it for a coach to really invest in developing players, especially in your off season?
I'll say it's very important because as the coaches build relationships, especially as a junior coming to the squad, you see the coaches trying to actually build a relationship with you. That actually gives you confidence, so you can actually build a relationship with your fellow teammates, and then you end up brewing and you end up like all trolling well and enjoying rugby.
Is that just a rugby relationship? And I know they're sitting right next to us, so you can be honest. I'll take the rap. Is it just a rugby relationship, or do they really get to know you guys personally and try and understand your background, where you come from, where you want to go, what you're trying to achieve?
I think it's not just a rap relationship. I think it's better than that. Like we've had so many like outings where we will go out having prize together, speaking, trolling, and just like enjoying each other. Like this weekend, Afrikaner and Kwopmana at one of our coaches' houses, just trolling and chilling there with them.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Guys, it's a wonderful season ahead for you. We're going to definitely come around, cover one of your big derbies. It'll be a privilege for us. And good luck for your off season. I hope that it's going to be phenomenal. There's quite a few of you that were grade 11, so you're going to be a good base of grade 12s that are forming an integral part of that squad. And for your under 16 boys, give it your best. I mean, you are joining a wonderful first team setup, and all the best for next season. I hope we see you up in the top 10 again.
I know. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Here's to 40 years of being on the road with you. 40 years of driving progress, building trust, and shaping the future. At C-Track, we're just getting started.
Ons het net gepraat van harde werk en ek dink nie al ons kykers besef wat in 'n afseisoen ingaan nie. En die challenges wat Westville face in hierdie afseisoen.
Yeah, they made it very clear that they're an omnisport school. They support every single sport that's available, and they encourage everyone to participate. The most amazing thing was they balanced that. You know, we've gotten to other schools where it's actually quite a fight. You know, the cricket coach doesn't like that you take his players for your off-season preparation, and the water polo guy wants to kill you if you touch one of his guys. And at the end of the day, they've got it right. I asked the coach, how does the off-season work? And they alluded to the fact that they're still scratching head about it, but they think they're getting it right, because there's 4 different groups. There's guys that are in another sport, they've got a specific program. There are guys that are injured coming back from injury, they've got their program. Then they've got guys that are diehard rugby, so they've got their program. I think there's 4 or 5 different programs, and all for one goal, getting the guys ready for the rugby season.
Yeah, look, I think there's a secret to this. Obviously, there's no measurable, because you're not competing. It's off-season. You can talk about conditioning and, you know, about your nutrition but part and parcel of the off-season is to create a self-belief in those players. Because you don't have the time when the season starts to all of a sudden perform. You've got to be right when the season starts. And I think, so it's again a holistic approach. It's difficult, you know, how do I measure what I bench against a guy from Maritzburg, you know, and we don't understand the way they play. We don't necessarily understand the talent on the field. So there's a different dynamic, and the off-season is key, you know. And there's a lot of factors that these directors of rugby and coaches must look after. It's the character, it's the self-belief, it's the nutrition, it's the conditioning. So any school that's going to do the off-season right is going to have the edge, and that's why they said, you know, they don't get it quite right because there's no formula. You've got to believe what you're doing and what you're injecting into the system is going to ultimately bear fruits.
Johnny, dink jy die spelers wat deur so 'n tipe stelsel gaan met al hierdie verskillende sporte as afseisoene is beter gekondisioneerd op die einde van die dag in rugby terme gewys as 'n klomp seuns wat net rugby afseisoen het? Dink jy die kondisionering van bietjie waterpolo en bietjie dit ontwikkel bietjie iets anders aan 'n afseisoen?
I must be honest, I mean, it's the mandate of the school sometimes that most of these kids have got no choice. They've got to do a winter sport and a summer sport, which I understand. I think there's pros and cons. You know, when you do athletics, for instance, in the off season, it's obviously going to help with your endurance and with your speed. You know, water polo is going to add something else. So I always say there's no harm in doing a different sport. Ultimately, it's going to help you. For me, it's more about creating that unity, you know, practicing in the off season together as a team, understanding one another, more than just, you know, practicing other sports. It's about the team dynamic, you know, and when you do athletics, cricket, water polo, hockey, whatever it is they do, you know, yes, individually you get developed. But on the wayside is that the team connection, you know, you don't spend as much time as you would like to as a unit together.
Okay.
You could see the excitement in these boys as well in that interview. I mean, the SA Schools Lock, you know, guys that really want to take their game to a different level, and spoke with utmost respect of, you know, of the coaches. And again, I think they're getting it right. Like you say, Johnny, it's not an exact science. It never will be. And to balance that, again, the viewer must understand that we always think, this is rugby at school level is like, rocking up for LO. We're long past that, having 2 practice sessions a week, Tuesday, Thursday, and play on a Saturday, because most parents and most grandparents come from that era. I mean, rugby is 4 or 5 days a week, 8 to 9 sessions a week. It's a completely different ball game, and again, that's why characters and I almost want to say professionals like the Dusties and the Peters and the Peter Sows and the guys who really understands that and still understand that they're working with schoolboys. That's what's important.
You're 100% right. We have to call it a science, and I think sometimes parents and old boys get it wrong because their perception of how it must be done. Let's just allude to nutrition. All of a sudden you've got your back three that's the lean muscle, and then you've got your props and your hooker that's more, it's got a bigger physique. Now you want to give all these players protein and carb shake, where the protein and carb shake for the forward is going to make them gain additional weight. So there's so much science behind it, and we've got to trust these guys in these positions that they understand the science, and it's work in progress. As they go, you've got different personalities. One player's under stress, he's going to do this. Another player is going to do that under stress. So you've got to understand the player. You've got to understand his body build. You've got to understand the nutrition. It's difficult.
And that's what makes an off season so important. That's why they call it an off season. It's never off, but it's a period where there's no competition. So you've got enough time. You've got enough. Especially the way they do this, they find the balance to work with these boys enough to understand them first of all. In other words, like you said, Johnny, understanding the individual, understanding every single positional guy's needs in terms of, and the each individual person. Does he need to gain weight? Does he need to gain strength? Does he need to gain speed, etc., and work around that? And that's what off seasons and pre-seasons are for. And Johnny, 9 times out of 10, it comes back to what Johan Ackerman alluded to, what Neil and them and Koenraad and them alluded to. That's where you see character.
Yeah.
There's no competition. There's nothing that tells you must be there on practice day. It's the guys that rock up, that are willing to put the hard work in, that goes the extra mile when everybody else is playing PlayStation. And it's, those types of things, if parents don't understand that, go and spend the amount of hours that these coaches and educators literally spend at that school, waiting for your son to show that discipline, that character, that enthusiasm. I promise you, if you spend that amount of time, you will understand what it takes for your son to actually get to that level.
You're 100% right. The game has changed so much. I mean, in my curry cup days on a Sunday after Saturday's game, we went to the gym to swim, and I doggy paddled. That was my playing days, and we laughed and joked about it. Today, it's a different ballgame. The parents should trust the system. These guys are in the situations and positions they're in for a reason. Trust the system. You've got 2 choices. You can either be negative and point fingers, or you can put your full weight behind these trusted coaches and trust that they're going to do a sterling job.
Die regte persoon in die regte rol.
100%.
It was a wonderful privilege. Next week, join us when we visited Maritzburg College. Can't wait to see you. Please don't forget to click and subscribe. Share this video. You want your mates and your friends' parents, everybody, you want them to know about what we're talking about so that they can be just as informed as you are. Please share this video.